Okay, very last lesson on the midpoint formula. So this is the midpoint formula. If you have two coordinates, x1, y1, x2, y2, x1, y1, x2, y2. Let's say this is 5, 9, 6, 15. We want to find the midpoint. We want to find what is halfway between 5 and 6. Well, what is halfway between 5 and 6? 5.5. If I add 5 plus 6 and divide that by 2, I get 11 divided by 2 is 5.5. That's halfway in between. What's halfway between 9 and 15? I don't know. Okay, you could reason it out. You could say, well, 9 plus 6 is 15. Okay, halfway, that would be half of 6 is 3. 3 plus 9 is 12. Or you could just go 9 plus 15 divided by 2. 9 plus 15 is 24 divided by 2, 12. So see, I just reasoned it out, or I could use the midpoint formula. Now this is helpful because why do we care about the midpoint? Well, we've been talking about parabolas. So this right here would be the midpoint of these 2 points. It'd be halfway in between, okay? Why do we care about this? Is because a parabola has symmetry. So we've been talking about the axis of symmetry, and we've been talking about the fact that parabolas can possibly cross the x-axis how many times? Can cross twice. It could also cross once, and it could maybe cross never. Okay, so these are our three options. So when it asks you the question, will it always cross? Will it never cross? Will it sometimes cross the x-axis? What do you say to that? You say sometimes, right? It will sometimes cross. Okay, now if I know, let's say I know that this point is 2, 0, and over here, let's say this point is 6, 0. What's halfway in between? 4. So that means my axis of symmetry is x equals 4. So given this information, you could have gone 2 plus 6, we could do our midpoint. 2 plus 6 divided by 2 and 0 plus 0 divided by 2. So our midpoint halfway in between is 4, 0 is the midpoint, but when we're talking about the axis of symmetry, we're talking about this whole entire line. Okay, and you're going to use this because several questions are going to come up. They might say, okay, the axis of symmetry is x equals 3. If you know that one of the points is 0, 1, could you tell me the symmetrical point to this point? So a good way to do this would be to visualize it on a graph. Here is the point 0, 1. The axis of symmetry, 0, 1. The axis of symmetry is here. It's x equals 3. Can you tell me what the point is on the other side? Well, how far away? We're really looking at the x values because you notice that the y value stays the same. The y value is going to stay at 1, right? Because it's horizontally symmetrical. How far away is this coordinate to the axis, and then how much further would you have to go in order to get to that other point here? Can anyone tell me what they think that x? Right, because here you're going to go 3 from 0 to 3, then you're going to go 3 more. You're going to go a symmetrical number of points, and so you end up getting 6, 1. So you're going to see variations on this problem where they will give you the 2 points. Let's say that the 2 points were -1, 5, and then the symmetrical point next to it is 3, 5. Can anyone tell me what the axis of symmetry is? What is the number that would be x that would be right in the middle? So again, I suggest here's negative 1, 5, and here's 3, 5. But we could actually also use the midpoint. How far away are these points? Anyone? Total distance? 4. Halfway. So if I go 2, half of 4 is 2. What's this axis of symmetry then? Add 2 to negative 1. What do you get? X equals 1. You could also use the midpoint. Okay, midpoint. Negative 1 plus 3 is 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. X equals 1. Same thing. Numbers. So fun, so fascinating. Okay, so that's a little bit about midpoint and how you're finding these two symmetrical points. So you're just really reasoning, use your graph, use your sketches to reason it out, but you can also use the idea of if you add the two coordinates and divide by 2, you're going to find the halfway point between the two. Okay, so any other questions?